Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Hinky. I'm your instructor for our Biology 103 class that will be starting on Wednesday, the 18th. And I'd just like to take some time to introduce myself and kind of orient you to our classroom, sort of lay out how everything's going to work. Um, so, as I said, my name is Dr. Hinky. You can call me Dr. Hinky, Dr. Lynn, uh, Dr. L, Dr. H, Miss Lynn, whatever you're comfortable with, I'm good with. So um, don't get don't get too worried about communicating with me. And I'll point out lots of different ways you have of communicating with me as we go through our classroom walk around. There are some resources available in D2L on classroom navigation that show you how to look around our D2L classroom. Uh, or around D2L in general, our learning platforms. So D2L stands for Desire to Learn, and that is our learning management system. It's also referred to as LEO, which is, can't remember what LEO stands for. How's that? Because it's D2L is the background. Um, so our classroom is set up and sort of the requirements for the class that I have uh, are set up to ensure that we are all interacting with one another. This is not just a correspondence course between each individual one of you and me. We are a class, and what I'd like to do is facilitate uh, our classroom of individuals becoming a learning community. I find everyone really enjoys the class a lot more when they get to interact with each other in a face-to-face classroom. You wouldn't just be learning from me. We wouldn't just be um, one-on-one. It would be you all learning from each other as well, and you would have a chance to talk and interact and share your experiences. Um, so learning as a community just makes it a lot more enjoyable. We find out that among everyone in the classroom, there are usually a lot of people, a lot of interesting experiences. And so it just makes biology and science a lot more fun when we can delve into it together as a community. So that's my goal for our class. Um, so now let's go ahead and take a look at our classroom. Um, So this, now you should be seeing our D2L classroom. This is Bio 103 6375. When you go to Course Home or when you first enter the classroom, this is what you're going to see. This is our home page. Don't skip the home page. Uh, you always want to check the announcements. So this every week, a few days before the start of the week, I will post an announcement, as I've done here prior to week one, that includes some general information, sort of a wrap up or summary of the previous week, where we're at the point that I post this information, and a summary of assignments. So you'll see this is an announcement two. So if you have not already scrolled down to read announcement one, there's some important information there. And announcement two is the one that's going to kick off our first week. So it includes some information to help you get started. A lot of that is reiterating what I'm telling you now and how we're going to walk through this through our class. And it says always check the announcements. The other things that will be posted here, if there's any disruption in class for whatever reason, a hurricane, and so we have people without power, and so we have to extend some due dates or anything like that. It'll be posted here. Any changes to assignments, every now and then I'll find I made a mistake setting up something or a link doesn't work. Uh, and I have a couple different places I can post that, but general broad information and announcements are here with a summary of your weekly assignments. What you'll see I've done for at least the first 4 weeks of class, so half the class, is tried to break down your assignments, not just by the week. There's a lot. We move fast and we cover a lot of material in 1 week. So I've broken them down sort of to give you some guideposts where you should be at what point in the week. Just to keep you moving forward. These are suggestions to help you better manage your time. I am an expert procrastinator. And so I know if I saw these dates, I would be far more likely to try to check things off by the date given. Without those, I would be sitting around till Saturday and then I'd be cramming and I would never get everything done, or sorry, by Tuesday or Wednesday. But even waiting until the weekend to get work done, there's far more work than you'll be able to get done on the weekend. As you can see, there's quite a bit. So I've given you these guideposts to sort of help you manage your time throughout the week. Um, oh, look, I posted that one twice. This was the first announcement down here, introduction and announcement one, that gives you some more background information, a little bit of the course description, course outcomes, and talks about some resources that are available to help you through the class. So you do want to read through this information. It's very important. I'm not going to read it to you. I just wanted to point that all out. I'll go fix my repeat of message one. All right, so the other thing that's on this homepage is there's a calendar that tells when assignments are due. So you can look at that quick calendar. This tells me when I have something new to look at. You'll see alerts saying, oh, there are new comments in the discussion. So look for those. This top menu can take you to the syllabus directly. We're going to go through the syllabus. It's important everyone reads all of the syllabus, so I'm going to just go through and highlight a few points. All of the content for the course. So this is probably the button you'll use the most. It's the one I use the most to get to everything. If you just want to specifically get to some activity or assessment, there are links here to get to your assignments. It's the folder where you'll submit your completed labs and your writing assignment. To the discussion forums, which will have weekly discussion forums that you will participate in. There's a weekly quiz, so you can go right to those. And that's it. And then if you want to check out your grades, there's a link to your grade book where grades will be recorded. There are different tools that can take you directly to the class list, the chat. If you see someone else from classes online and you want to talk to them in real time, you can do that. Right to the calendar. So class progress, you can check and see what you've turned in and grades specifically on that. So you can go through all of those. You can get to all of those again. Content is, I'll open that up in just a second to show you. Academic support. There's the academic integrity information. This just tells how to ensure you are not violating any of the student honor code or any policies in the university accidentally by plagiarizing unintentionally without knowing when you need to cite one of your sources. Accessibility accommodations, if anyone has any accessibility needs, take a look at that. There's a link to career services if you'd like some help exploring different careers. The Effective Writing Center, we do have a writing assignment due in this class. I highly recommend the Effective Writing Center, especially if you have not completed your first English courses yet in writing classes. They can be very, very helpful in ensuring or just looking over, giving you a second set of eyes to edit, proofread your paper, and point out where it might need some reworking. Link right to the library, which you'll use when you're looking up library sources for your references for your writing assignment. This course does use Turnitin. Originality in papers and looks for quotes or large passages that are copied without attribution. So things are run through Turnitin, so we can see if what is submitted is found elsewhere online. And there's also tutoring available. So you can link here if you need tutoring. And then you have and what you have is technical support if you're having problems with D2L at any point. You can get to the MyUMGC website. You do not have course administration. That's me. I will tell you one of the first things I recommend if you start having some glitches in D2L is just to go into your whatever browser you're using and go into the tools. And if you clear the browsing data or clear cookies or clear whatever the background data that it collects is, clear that. Somehow there's a whole lot of glitches that get resolved when you do that. So I'd recommend that as my first trial. It's sort of like shutting down your computer and restarting. Doing that seems to fix a whole lot of stuff in D2L. So I'd recommend doing that. All right. So please do read first the welcome announcement. I post announcements here, but the university also posts announcements. So if you look at the bottom, there's show all announcements. You can scroll down and see everything that's been posted. There are classroom navigation guidelines to help you out if you have not taken a class in D2L before. A link for a classroom walkthrough, which is kind of what I'm doing now. It's more generalized. And then again, my first welcome message and the week 1 assignments message. So that's your course home. Always check those announcements. You can link right to the syllabus through this link and it will get you exactly here. We're going to go through the syllabus in detail. But first I want to show you the content and go through that through that content with you. Just go down the list. So if you see here, now along the left, we have this top menu, but we also have all of our coursework. So this side menu here on the left are all specific links to our course modules and course information. In this overview link, you'll find information just in general about the class, but also my contact information. And you can contact me through my Maryland email. You can contact me here through the messaging system, the chat, or the email right in D2L, or that's just Outlook email. This is my cell phone number. Because it's my cell phone number and I get lots of spam and you're not going to be in my contacts list, I won't recognize your phone number when you call, so I won't answer. So your best bet if you want to talk to me, and please feel free to use this number and call. I'm here to help you out. But usually what I suggest, text me first. Let me know, hey, give me your name from your 103 class, from your Bio 103 class, and I have some questions. Please call me or give me some times when you're available. Or if you text me that right away and I can call you back right away if I get it when I'm free. But text first, or if you call, leave a voice message and I'll get back to you. But I probably won't pick it up if it's an unknown number. I have no bookmarks listed. This is just our calendar. There's a link with the course objectives. These are just big, broad. This is big picture. This is overall at the end of our class. Everything that we do in each week is going to contribute to the overall end result that you, when you successfully complete this class, are able to recognize and explain how the scientific method is used to solve problems. You'll be able to make observations and discriminate between scientific and pseudoscientific explanations. This is hugely important. If you get nothing else out of this class, if you're totally not interested in biology, doesn't matter. Applying the scientific method is using critical thinking skills to evaluate the credibility of information using a methodical, systematic approach that is designed to help you remove bias from the equation. We all have bias. We all have a preferred position. Following this process makes you look at everything, because what the scientific method does is makes you try to disprove your hypothesis or what you think the answer is. And so by looking at all of the information available, what's that source? Where does it come from? Is it credible? Does that person have the expertise or the background to truly evaluate and assess and provide viable, credible information? Because we can have lots of pseudoscientific explanations and rationales and websites going around. Now everybody can slap anything up on the internet, and they do. So to be a good consumer, Um, to be a good citizen, it's really critical that you develop those critical thinking skills and are able to test yourself and call yourself out on biases to find credible um, and reliable information. So this is a huge outcome for this class. And part of that, you'll be able to weigh evidence and make decisions based on the strengths and limitations of scientific knowledge and the scientific method. And you'll use biological principles, the scientific method, and appropriate technologies to ask relevant questions, develop hypotheses, design and conduct experiments, interpret the results, and draw conclusions. You'll be doing this over and over again in lab. Um, and so you will really, everybody's learned the scientific method a dozen times. So why do I have to learn again? Oh, every class I take, I have to learn this. But there's so many nuances, and it's so difficult to apply it appropriately and completely because it's nuanced. Because our first instinct is to get to the answer that we think is going to happen. And this makes us slow down, step back, and try to see if we can't make that answer wrong, what we expect the answer to be. Can we disprove it? And if we can't, we get mounting evidence that it is that our hypothesis is correct. So we'll get into that a lot more in detail in week 1. So those are our course objectives overall. Going back to the content, the way the classroom is set up. Nope, before we get here. I've got a Before the Class Begins tab. This is available now, and it just gives you some things that you should be doing, some things you should be aware of. This is a really important document to read, How to Earn Discussion and Participation Points. It's kind of lengthy, but I think it's really important because the discussion is a big portion of your grade, and it's also a huge portion of your learning. So many students have told me after class or in the evaluation that they really hated this being weighted so heavily to begin with. They felt that it was a burden to have to read their classmates' responses and then answer or respond to them and build a discussion. But then they realized that they were learning as much, if not more, from those discussions as they did in the book. And when they were uncertain about things that they had read in the text or seen in a video, that oftentimes those discussions helped to clarify it. So this goes through and talks about what those requirements are, how I evaluate those, things to consider, and also gives you a grading rubric. We have rubrics for grading for your writing assignment, for the discussion posts, and for your laboratories. Rubrics are a way for me to ensure I have unbiased grading, but everybody gets evaluated against these same criteria for the same grade. Rubrics are also a way for you to ensure success because you know if you want an A, here's what you have to do right here, everything there. And you can evaluate, you can check yourself. Have I done this? Let me go back and look. Oh, wait. Oh, maybe I did this. So before you even receive your grade, you should be able to evaluate your own work and have a good idea of whether or not you have completed it to an A level or not. Right? So this is a tool not only to help me grade, but to help you evaluate your work and see, is it ready for grading or do I need to do a little bit more work? So look for rubrics for those. The other items in our Before Class Begins, I know a lot of you have already been in the classroom. I'm very excited about that. Everybody should have ordered their virtual software. Here are directions for how to do that. There's a brief introduction to what we'll be covering, what biology is about. There's that link to how to navigate in the classroom. And there's a short checklist of items that are going to be due, things you should do each week, what percentage of your overall grade they are worth. They add up to 100, and when they're due. So remember, we start on Wednesday, so day 7 is Tuesday. Day 5 would be Sunday. Our labs are due on Sunday. And that's just to help you manage your time so you're not trying to do the labs on a work day because for many of you, you will not have the time to complete them. So it's better to get them done on the weekend and get those completed. So that's all of our before class lists. This module here, Ask the Professor, this just has some links to some discussion boards. One is Ask the Professor, the other is the Student Lounge. There's also a link to tutoring information. If you think that you would benefit from some free tutoring, some additional time, some help with any part of the classroom, you can go there to look at that. But these discussion boards, as I say here, ask the professor. If you have questions about the week's content, about a specific topic that we're going through, you'll want to post that in the regular discussion board because it's relevant to the week's content, and I will be sure to see it. If you have something outside of the week's content that it's not about a task or assignment for the week, or if you think, hey, you know what? I have this question, so I'm sure all of my classmates have this question and they would all benefit from seeing the answer. Post it here and ask the professor. And then when you come on, if you ever see that there's an unread post in here, take a look because it might be something that you need the information as well. So those are directed to me. The student lounge area, if we were in a face-to-face class, you'd all get to be able to talk to each other without me sitting there. And so I set up a student lounge. I do not monitor the student lounge. So I know you have to trust me on this because here I am. I can go click on this link and read these, which I definitely can, but I have plenty to read in the other discussion boards. So this is for you to help each other out. Right? This is a place where you can go, if you're really struggling with something, you say, hey, I'd love a study buddy. Can somebody, meet up on WebEx or Zoom or something on these times? Some of you are located physically within close distance to each other around Maryland, you can get together to study, or whatever, I'm having trouble with this, can you help me out? But Student Lounge is just a place for you to exchange information, have discussions that don't have really, can have nothing to do with class or everything. I don't care. You can say, oh, Dr. Hinkey's such a mean teacher. I'm not going to monitor that. All right. So you have to take my word for that, but you can go ahead and post whatever you want in there. And then the rest of the weeks are set up. Each week is set up the same. So we'll go through that. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, of course, resources, the Science Learning Center, you do have the scientific method tutorial that is part of your required week 1 reading. There's also a link to some science study skills. You might want to look that over. It can be very, very beneficial if you're apprehensive about taking a science class. It's been a long time. That's a nice introduction overview. Introduction to Biology modules. This was our old online textbook. We have our OpenStax textbook. It's great. I really like our OpenStax textbook, and you have access to each chapter as we go through our week's content. This is included as supplementary or optional reading material. And so there are links each week. It tells you what sections are relevant to this. But if you need a little bit more clarification, or if there's a topic that you really, really think, wow, that's really interesting, I want to learn some more about that, you might want to come in here. They're pretty short, easy to read, but that's what those, when it says optional, read, module, whatever, that's where you can find all of those biology modules. So you can take a look at those. There's some information on citing and writing. So when you're writing the writing assignment, there are some links, some grammar tips, links to the Writing Center, some things to kind of help you out with that so you don't lose points on things like citations and references and how you format your paper. We've got the academic integrity tutorial. So you can go through that academic integrity tutorial. It tells you more about how to cite papers, avoid plagiarism, when you need to cite. There's a basic math tutorial. We won't be using a whole lot of math, but you will be doing some averaging in our labs primarily. That's the big one, but if you need that help. That's in all D2L classrooms. And then e-reserves, we don't have an ebook reserve. The course evaluation later on in the course, as we go through, you'll want to complete that evaluation and share about your experience in this class and what you think and what can be improved and what worked well. So I hope you all fill that out. All right, so let's take a look at sort of what you'd go through in a normal week. So in a normal week, you're going to come into the content, click on week one. Week one is going to have everything you need for week one. So the first module, the first box at the top of each week is going to be the week one overview, objectives, and assignments. So the overview tells you here's what we're going to be learning about. So this is what we're going to learn about. Here's your to-do list for the week. You're going to see that your assignments for each week are posted in all sorts of places so that you won't miss anything. It tells you your objectives. All right, so learning objectives, a lot of students will say, well, do we have a study guide? Learning objectives are your study guide. This is a specific list of what you should be able to do at the end of the week if you have successfully learned everything that you need to. And you'll see, this isn't just a memorization course. It's a thinking course beyond memorization. I don't want you to just spit back a definition. What does it actually mean? How does it apply? How do I use that? So you'll have definitions, but you'll also have to describe things. So in our discussion, if it asks you to describe or explain something, that's much different than define it. I can just spit back the definition, but if I have to explain it, you want to write out, I'm telling this to my mother. How would I explain this to her? So this is really asking you to paraphrase it. And then as we move on, you'll see apply more and more and more. And in the labs, you'll be doing things like measuring, calculating, explaining, interpreting your data, and exploring different topics. So these are your learning objectives at the end of each week. Before you take the quiz, you want to run down this list. Can I do this? Can I do this? Check, check, check. Oh, I'm not so sure about this. Let me go back and look about that. The discussion on the interrelationships among protons, neutrons, and electrons. So this gives you a way to double check your learning before you take the quiz. So that's the first module or section that you'll find in every week's content. And then those assignments that are listed on the homepage in the announcement are reiterated here. And you can use this as a checklist to go through. And again, I've broken it down to sort of help you manage your time, and I explain that here. So you can use that checklist, use that as a way to make sure you've completed all your assignments. In week one, you have the academic integrity pledge that you have to complete before you can move on to other materials. Our first discussion are just introductions, which we've already started. Many of you have already been in here and posted an introduction. This gives you some general information about the discussions and sort of how many posts you should shoot for. And then this discussion specifically, introduce yourself. And here's my bio, gives you sort of the big overview background about me and my background, which is in marine science. And that's me with long red hair instead of short grayish purple hair, and my husband, and this is my dog Lupin, my dog Muggle, and my cat Minerva. So you can read that if you want to know a little bit more about me. In the discussions, we'll see you should be reading your classmates' posts and replying to those, as well as posting your own. So to do that, you would come into the discussion. You say, okay, our discussion, this is the introduction. Click on it, and you are going to start a new thread to post your discussion answers. So most of our discussions will start with a group of questions. And then to reply to someone, you open their discussion and you'll see reply to thread. So you can read my post and put a reply here if you have any comments. And that is also part of our discussion. It's a discussion, so it's two-way. So that means you're all going to be talking to each other, not just back and forth to me, but to each other in these discussions. Then you'll find the content that we'll study. And in week one, our topics are just a general introduction to biology, then the scientific method, and the chemistry of life. So we'll be looking at those three topics. And what I recommend you do is complete one topic in its entirety, look at the week's discussion questions, and see. So if I just do the introduction, what questions relate to that? Oh, these two. And complete everything related to that topic. Look at your learning objectives related to that, and then move on and do the scientific method portion. And then come and answer these questions. So you can post your answers more than once if you want to break these down rather than wait until you've done all of the reading to answer. That gives everyone a little more time to interact in the discussion boards. I've also in each of these links throughout, there's the first item links to your required reading. And then usually I have links to one or more videos. These are often very, very short. Occasionally it's a video that I've done is a video lecture. And so it's like a lecture, it's an hour long, blah, 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 boring. I strongly suggest you watch those in 10, 15-minute segments and then shut me up, stop, click, pause, walk away, and you can come back and watch later. I don't recommend watching a whole hour's worth of lecture at a time. I am not very thrilling. That's why I use lots of other videos that are short, that have a much higher production value, or are more entertaining than mine. But those videos support and augment the reading. The reading is your required assignment. The videos are to help, to support, to explain, further elucidate those concepts. These are the links to the optional reading in those Introduction to Biology modules, our old online textbook. Those are here. So this is, again, optional, and it tells you what specific sections to read that are related to the week's work. And then you have the link to the discussion questions that we looked at, and you will reply with your answers to those questions. You'll also read your classmates' discussions and leave comments if you see somebody made a mistake. You're not graded on your first answer. So if it's wrong or incomplete, you have a whole week to go in and correct things. That means you have a whole week to get the absolute right answer, and you can use help from your classmates. Your classmates, you should help each other out because that's not cheating. This isn't a test. This is for you to learn. So the best way you can help, the most helpful thing you can do in that discussion is if you see somebody missed a question or has incorrect information, help them out. Point them out. Hey, this is different from my answer. Here's where I found the answer. You might want to look there. Because then they can go in and make corrections so that they earn full points at the end of the week. The easiest way to lose points is to post your responses, reply to 2 classmates, never come back, so you never see when your classmates say, hey, you need to correct this answer. And so you never take advantage of that opportunity to get the complete and correct answer and earn full points. So try not to do that. You should check on the discussion board at least 3 times over the course of the week to see, has anybody responded back to me? Has anybody said, hey, I should make some changes? Or, gee, thank you, your response really helped clarify this topic for me. And thank them for that. So lots of ways to interact. Again, that how to earn discussion points file that I pointed to you to earlier that's in the before we start module can help you better understand how to earn those points and interact in the discussion. Uh, each week's discussion will also have, oh, where did it go? I guess I'd better put that in here. We'll have a second discussion. I'll show you that in week 2 since I didn't. Optional week 2 discussion questions. These are more general, reflective, give you a chance to sort of share your learning, learning experience. So that'll always ask things like, what was the most interesting thing? What was the most difficult thing? How did the lab go for you this week? And then ask you to sort of reflect, how does this relate to previous week's learning? How does this relate to anything in the news? How does this relate to something in your life outside of the classroom? And then share any learning strategies. If you find a particularly helpful website, or you start doing something a little differently and it really helps you to focus and improve your learning, you can share that here. And those insights, it's really good to read one another's insights on how people approach learning and how they approach the material. And a lot of times you'll learn, hey, I would have never thought to try that. You'll learn new ways to study. So this is a great way to earn discussion points, coming in here and interacting, and a way to uh, do a little self-reflection on the week. And I will put those into week 1. They should be there. Missed that. So this is how each week will be broken down. Our discussion, I'm in week 2 now, but they're all broken down similarly. Then there will be a link to the lab, a reminder of what the objectives are. So good to look at these before you start to give you an idea about what you're going to be learning. And again, when you're done, to see, did I accomplish that? And then this links you right to your lab modules and to the directions. In a few cases, I've added some additional information to the labs where I think the directions are not as clear as they could be, or I find students struggle with it a lot. So there might be a second file in here just to help explain things a little more thoroughly for you. And then the final link in each week's material is the quiz. So once you have gone through, completed all the other work, checked those learning objectives, and feel pretty confident, you can go in and take the quiz, and you will have 2 attempts at the quiz. And so if you think you're ready and you take it and then your grade is not what you expected it to be, you can go back and review the material again, look over the learning objectives one more time, and then come back and try again. So 2 attempts at that. So that's our classroom. Each week is set up in a similar manner, and that should get you through. But first and foremost, we'll go back to this before class begins. And I will again remind you how to earn discussion points. You will want to read that. Though it's a little lengthy, it really explains why why this is important. It's not busy work. This is really important component of our classroom and of your learning. So that is it. I look forward to seeing you all. Stop sharing here. All right. I look forward to seeing all of you in the classroom starting on Wednesday. I'll be poking in here and there over the next few days because I see many of you have already gotten started, but I won't be posting a whole lot, and some of the material will not be available until Wednesday, until the official first day of class. So you can look for more then. All right. Thank you, and I will see you all on Wednesday.